Hey guys, my name is Ludia Mong'are and welcome to another episode of the Freelancers Mic where we have conversations with creatives. It's all about you getting the mic and sharing your experiences. If you enjoy it, hit follow so you don't miss the next episode. So on today's episode, we have a special guest, Mitchell, who started his freelancing career at just 23. Driven by necessity and fueled by ambition, he has not only achieved success, but has also established a nearly seven-figure fractional CMO agency. I'm inviting you to join me as Mitchell shares his journey from humble beginnings to becoming an agency boss, offering invaluable tips for freelancers aiming to balance professional growth with the demands of parenting. Mitchell, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So my usual common question is, if you were to go back in time and start your freelancing business all over again, what's that one thing that you could do differently to get to where you are right now?
To be honest, if I could go back in time, I'd probably not waste my time as much as I could. I think when I first started out as a freelancer, I tried to do everything. And my background's in marketing. So I was trying to do SEO and Google Ads and social media, and I was trying to be this jack of all trades. When you're a freelancer, really what people are looking for, I know now because I hire freelancers, is someone that's quite specialized and really good at what they do. So I think if I could go back in time, I would find the one area that I liked the most, which was probably writing, and really stick to that. Although, with that said, maybe that would not lead me to where my business is today.
That's amazing. I understand you have a CMO agency that has been around for over 10 years.
Correct.
What inspired you to start the agency?
I just fell into it, to be honest. If everyone can tell, I'm an Australian, but I moved to America. Well, originally I wasn't planning on moving, but I was traveling around America. I'd met an American, and a few months later, I had a son, or the process of having a son. So I needed to find a way that I could work in America legally, which you can only stay for 3 months, and make money. I had just graduated college. I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to start. And the first thing I decided was just to start doing something. I wrote blogs for free. I found a few clients. It took 6 months to get my first paid work. I had a portfolio. Overall, yeah, I don't think anything inspired me. It was a necessity. I needed to provide for my son. And the only way I could do that internationally traveling was to be my own boss and be a freelancer.
Sam, wow. Whatever the reason is, you got started.
Exactly. I think as long as you start, you don't need to know exactly where you're going. You just start moving.
And what was it like starting your business at such a young age, especially it's freelancing? What was it like for you?
I mean, so it was 10 years ago. So blogs were still people were starting to write blogs, but it wasn't as popular as it is now. Every company now has blogs. So it was easier to get started than it would be today. I would assume everyone has a blog. You can use AI to write. It was relatively, no, I wouldn't say simple, but it was an easy process when you're willing to offer something for free. And that was what I was willing to do. I think I've ran into a few freelancers, family members and friends that the idea of working for free is really a challenge, but I found that was the only way that I was able to get paying clients was, hey, look, let me prove my worth to you. I'm going to write this article for free. I believe it's going to generate this result. If it does, you consider hiring. So that was the path that I took. Luckily, it worked.
I love your approach. And what are some of those strategies that you remember that you took into consideration to grow your business into a six-figure that maybe you can give someone that is planning to start?
I think the biggest thing, especially if you're a freelancer, even if you don't hire other freelancers like what I've got a developer and a designer and a few other freelancers, but you tend to work with people even if you're on your own. So the first thing that I did is I found good freelancers that could, complement my existing skills that I had, and I treated them really well. I think that's the first thing is if you can find a good freelancer that you trust, that does the work well, pay them well, treat them well, and hopefully you can start some sort of collaboration where they give you clients, you give them clients, and it ends up kind of morphing into that. So in the end, I guess the answer is networking is probably the best strategy that I would start with, as if I'm starting out as a freelancer. If you already are a freelancer, then there's a few other examples I could give. But
Awesome. While you're starting, do you have a blog? Like you created several blogs, not one, not two.
as in for other clients or for these people that I
yourself.
was working for? For myself, I did, yeah. I don't remember if anything came from it. My company now is called 08, but I first started with a company that I called Content by Mitch. And I think I was writing some articles. They probably weren't very good, but that's kind of how you tested. So I think a lot of freelancers need to do that. They need to do the craft. So I jumped in, I learned how to build my own WordPress website. I started to publish blogs. I looked at what was out there. I ended up just falling into a niche and being able to write about that niche. The niche was quite strange. I'm Australian, and it was about in 401k investments in America. So very different. Yeah, I think that was probably the best way I could describe it.
Wow. So tell us more about the Zero. It's a unique name, but I would like to know more.
So 08 is actually it's my son's birthday, and it's not at the same time. He's born on the 4th of August. And so August 08. And I was really struggling to come up with a name. And I took the same approach that I did with freelancing, which was just jump in. I'm going to make the name into something that I like instead of just trying to constantly think through a name, which took months. This was a month-long process. Easy.
And what are the services that your company offers to the clients?
So right now I'm doing fractional CMO work. So I have 3 large clients and then a few smaller ones that I just do typical marketing agency services for, like websites, etc. But in terms of being a fractional CMO, I sit as it's particularly a consultant role, but I'll come into a company and essentially run their marketing department, just like a CMO would, just like a VP of marketing. So I'm making the strategy, I'm attending team huddles, I'm doing all of those things that a regular internal marketer would do, but I do it as an external consultant, essentially. So the term fractional CMO has gotten a lot of traction lately. But I've seen a lot of people just kind of putting their title as fractional CMO without actually having to work in it. But I've been doing that for about 6-7 years. I had to build my way up. I didn't start as a fractional CMO. I started to do very minor things, content writing, marketing, managing, and now it's transformed into that. So that's the services in a nutshell.
Like I'm hearing jargon. I've never heard about the fractional CMO.
It's
first time.
It's becoming more popular. If you look on LinkedIn now, you'll start seeing a few fractional CMOs because I think people see that it's a good way to make money. It's a long-term contract, but it's just, it's not as easy as it looks. I think you are responsible for a lot of KPIs, and it's as challenging as being a CMO.
No, at least the KPIs are bringing it home somehow.
Exactly.
I'll have to go and check it out on LinkedIn and understand you're a father. I know parenting comes with its challenges. Being a father, you are also working on your company. You have a lot other things that you're doing. And
Yep.
how do you balance all these demands of running your agency, and at the same time, you have your personal life as a parent, and you're also different person when you are away from home?
It's a challenge. I won't say it's easy. I think when you work for a company, you can turn off. You can turn off your brain. You can go and enjoy a vacation. It's a lot easier. And I think people think that being your own boss is great and you can go on a vacation and you can do this whenever you want. And that's true. I'm going to America soon, or going to Australia soon. I'm going to Europe eventually, or as in a few months. And that sounds great, but I'll be working at the same time. So in terms of balancing the lifestyle, I'm still learning how to do that myself. I know I've got problems. I realized I had a problem when I was in Yellowstone National Park, and there was a group of bison in front of me with my son, and I was too busy trying to get a cell phone reception at the time to even bother really paying attention to what was in front of me. But in terms of managing the time, I think you have to deprioritize something. So most people, they're watching Netflix, they're playing video games, they're going to a bar, they're doing something, right? And I think it's just about figuring out what you want to accomplish in life and going after that. So I knew I wanted to be a good father. I would spend time with my son. I knew I wanted to work on my business. So when he was young, I really didn't have much time for anything else. I would go to the gym and I would make sure I spend my time with him. I didn't have enough money to afford daycare. So I would spend time with him. Once he was asleep, I would work. and I would just repeat the cycle. So it was very challenging in the first year of his life. And I'm still learning how to be better with managing that time. But I think I'm slowly getting used to what it is, which is prioritizing my time and not allowing certain things to affect what is a priority in my life.
Awesome, awesome. Someone mentioned that working from home or being your own boss is fun until you realize you're working 8 hours a week, more than someone working for another person.
That was true for me at the beginning of being a freelancer. Now I'm working no more than a normal person does, but I don't get to turn off my mind. And I think maybe that doesn't get counted enough. I think I sit down in front of a computer for no more than 20 hours a week. But every time I go for a walk, I go to get groceries, I do anything, I'm thinking of my business and how I can make it better and how I can grow my revenue. So it's tough. I don't think you can ever truly switch off, and you don't need to work 80 hours, though, is more what I'm trying to get at. I think that you can find a way to delegate to other freelancers that you have or find people in your network. But overall, it goes back to the same thing. Prioritize and make sure that whatever you're doing is trying to accomplish the goal that you've set for yourself. So I still do this right now. I spent hours last week trying to find a new project management software. And I was researching and doing free trials and really trying to look at what was important. And then I stopped myself and thought, is this actually going to accomplish the goals I've set for myself as a KPI? Is getting a new project management software going to result in increased revenue, improving the services for my clients or anything? And the answer was no. So I stopped doing it. So I think it's really figuring out what is important to you in your business and growing that business and pausing everything else in your life.
Yes, and you are right, because you never get to turn everything off, because you are seated somewhere and then you remember there was this project I was working on, this needs to be done. So you are away, but your mind is not completely away from your business.
Correct. Never. It never is, and it never will be, and I'm okay with that. It's just, I think that's difficult for some people to understand. And being a freelancer, you have to make yourself indispensable. Like and I don't mean, oh, the client doesn't know how to log into their website and that makes you indispensable because you're the only one. I mean that your client can't picture doing whatever job it is that you're doing without you. So for me, if I get a text message from one of my clients on a Sunday or an email, I don't mind to answer it. So I might not work 80 hours, but I don't have that separation of, oh, I'm at a family barbecue, I can't turn my phone off. I haven't been able to do that. And I think that becomes a difference between the two. And I think if you love what you do, you won't mind it. I really love marketing. If my boss or a client has a question related to something in marketing and I find it an interesting problem, for me, I actually enjoy it. I view it no differently than a text message from a friend.
Wow. I think you've gotten into a topic that has been in a discussion for so many years. I think like when you go online into the freelance groups, people are like, make sure you set boundaries. But then in as much as we want to set boundaries, there is a way that you want to treat your clients because of the value they have for you and the value you have for them.
Exactly.
And that is where the point you say that you get a message and you're somewhere, then you have to respond. So sometimes it depends also on the relationship between you and the client.
Definitely. Yeah, I think so. I think if you expect your client to be accommodating to your time, oh, you've got a vacation next month, your hours have changed or something, then I don't see why the same isn't reciprocated, why you can't do the same thing for your client. So I think the boundary discussion to me is more so about trying to separate work from home life. So I have my desk here and it's away from where I watch TV, or it's away from where I eat. It's away from where I spend time with my son. It's in the house, but it's completely separate room. I know that when I go in there, I'm there to work. Yes, I can get a text message and I come back in there to work. And I think just having an area of your house that is separate from work is important in terms of separating yourself from time and not being available for your clients. I think that's a difficult path to go down. It's really competitive out there. If that's the way you want to go about it, I don't see why you wouldn't want to be an employee instead of your own boss, because it's not easy to do it. You'll never be able to switch off, and you should enjoy doing it in the end.
Yeah, sounds like something that I've been doing until I got hired Upwork to do social media engagement. I'm used to when a client sends a message, because I understand you sometimes when you work with different clients, you get to understand their needs and how they behave. So I understand this client, there is a client that I need to respond immediately because of the urgency, or I understand his business mode. So when I got hired by Upwork, it was like a 9 to 5 job. So the moment you get a message and you were already checked out, you don't respond. And so they were like, why are you responding to this message at this time? So I got a different perspective of whatever I was doing. And it was so exciting for me.
No, 100%. And it's not easy. And as you said, you do learn what clients act in certain ways. And once you get to a point in your business where you can pick and choose what clients that you want, like if you're picky with your relationships in your personal life, you should be the same way in your working life. But you can't do that at the beginning of being a freelancer. You have to build a portfolio. You have to show that you know what you're doing. You have to show results. But eventually you can choose the clients that you know you work well with, that understand your circumstances, and go from that. Like as I said, I travel back and forth between America and Australia still to this day. And I've got clients that are okay with that. They know that if they have a meeting at 2 a.m., I'll be there, as in 2 a.m. Australian time.
Yeah.
So again, but I prefer that because I can go for a coffee at midday and I don't have to answer anyone, and it just works. So it's really about what you want. I think a lot of people have sold the idea that being a freelancer is this really glamorous lifestyle, and you see on Instagram there's someone by the pool in Dubai and he's enjoying life or she's enjoying life, and it can be like that. And I'm going to the Middle East in a few months, and I'm going to Europe, and it can be like that, but no one sees what you have to do on the back end of that and how difficult it can be. As long as you find something you love to do, it has its pros. It also has its cons.
Yeah, you're right. I think we have sold the idea that you have to work on your own terms, and then we forget that whoever you're working with, this is a business. The business needs to run, and you also have to learn how to accommodate their business into your life, because then it's not like they're going to call you all the time. They just call even if it's a meeting at 1 a.m., just 30 minutes or 1 hour. It's not 12 hours a day.
Exactly. And I broke my toe a while back, and I was upset. I was reconsidering being a freelancer. I was looking at my life, and I was working until 2 a.m. because I was in Australia at the time, working in until 2 a.m., having meetings. I was really exhausted. It just wasn't working. And once I broke my toe and I went into hospital, I noticed all of the nurses, the doctors, everyone was working that exact same shift, but they were working for someone else. So it kind of gave me a little bit of a perspective change. There's a lot of people in this world that can't be flexible with their time. And sometimes you have to be the same way as a freelancer and be grateful for it, I think.
Or what's that one thing that you would like to share with my audience that maybe I forgot to ask you, or that you would like them to know?
It's probably controversial, but I think to get over you, if is this going to people that are starting out as freelancers or they're already freelancers? I can give advice for both, I suppose, but I think if you're starting out as a freelancer, I think get over your pride. Like you really have to work hard if you're going to make it. There's really competitive out there. Upwork is global. There's people that are willing to work cheaper than you. There's people that are willing to work harder than you. Try not to have the latter be the case. Or like I said, just if you need to work for free in your local community, great. If not, try to find some good clients, but try to get over your pride until your business is at a place where you can really afford to pick and choose and find the projects that you want. You need to establish a portfolio. As someone that hires people and hires people on Upwork as well, no one's going to work for you without a portfolio. It really takes someone that's looking for something else to go above and beyond that. So I think if you're starting out, that would be my advice, is forget your pride for a few months in terms of work. Just do what you need to do to build that portfolio. For a freelancer right now that's already establishing themselves, I think find the time to allocate where your priorities should be. So I use time management software. I found it really helped. I could see what clients were taking my time. I could see what tasks were taking away from my time. And I delegated tasks that were not going to accomplish my goals to other freelancers or to other people. And I removed tasks that weren't going to accomplish anything. and I prioritized the ones that were. So I think finding a way to prioritize your time is the most important thing as a freelancer, whether that's using project management software or time tracking or something. But we all have limited amount of time in the day. Being a freelancer is tough. None of us normally work 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, with at least from the ones that I know, it's normally flexible. So find a way that you can make sure that you get your priorities done in whatever way you can.
Wow, amazing. I'm glad that we both agree on this. And I know my audience is not going to like it if I don't ask this question.
Sure.
How do you find your clients?
That's difficult. And I'm going through that process now. As I mentioned, I've gone back and forth between Australia and America, and I really want clients in both countries because it'll make it easier for me to include it as a business expense and just gives me justification to go back and forth. I don't believe in luck. I think luck comes from hard work, but I do think I've been lucky. I'll try to answer this in a way that kind of doesn't make it seem like there is luck to it, but also makes it seem like there's a process. So what I do as a marketer is I typically look for companies that are searching for someone that has my skills. So I'm a fractional CMO, so it's a little bit different. But if I see someone that has a job posting, a local job posting, Upwork, whatever it is, normally a local job posting, looking for a marketing manager, marketing director, CMO, I apply to their job and I say, hey, look, you can hire someone internally or you can hire me, and I come with a team of designers and developers, and that's how it goes. So that's the pitch that I have. With that said, I've been pretty lucky that I've had a few recruiters reach out to me. So in terms of finding new clients, I've never had to do the searching myself. I've had recruiters come to me. For smaller clients, like small website projects and things like that, that's been a little bit different. Which is how I started, which is probably the most interesting, is I use a lot of different ways. So Facebook groups, there's a Facebook group here in Sydney called Sydney Startups. So I went in there, I offered website services, I offered blog content writing, using my network at the beginning. So for example, I was an Australian in Texas in America, and I knew there was another Australian that had a business. I offered him free work. He kind of looked at it as helping another person in his community. So I think there's a few ways to go about it, but I think networking is really important. Trying to find whatever network you currently have was one way. And then figuring out what your pitch is, what you actually sell, and what benefit someone has to work with you over working with someone else.
Awesome. I love your approach. Maybe I should ask you for another conversation.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for showing up. I've loved this conversation. I've learned a lot of new things that I didn't know, especially the CMO. I'm going to check it out and maybe learn more about it. I've also learned about your approach of finding clients, so I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And if someone wants to reach out to you, how do they get in touch? Or someone wants to follow you and maybe gain insights?
My website's probably the best way. It's 08.us, so not .com, but .us. And on LinkedIn, I'm pretty active as well, which is Mitchell Sullivan. And I think you can find it through my website as well, but I'll make sure I put it on there in case.
I think you'll have to send me all those links so that I don't keep typing the wrong ones, because names sometimes look similar.
Definitely. There's a lot of Mitchell Sullivans in the world as well, so it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, but I'm also unique. I'm the only one called Ludia.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of the Freelancers Mic. A big thank you to Mitchell for joining us and sharing his journey from young hustler to agency boss, along with amazing tips for freelancers and fathers alike. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you found Mitchell's insights inspiring and practical as I did. Don't forget to subscribe for more episodes packed with expert advice and stories from freelancers across the world. Until next time, take care and keep hustling.